Hi, I'm Chris Schwab, and I want to formally welcome you to this year's 2022 Zen Maid Summit. I've spoken to you a few times before on topics like personal productivity, hiring your own virtual assistant, and how to take your cleaning business remote so that you can travel with it as an absentee owner. This year, I wanted to do something special for you guys because there's a lot of talk of recession on our minds. You see it from every country, particularly in the US. There's a lot of talk about a global recession coming in 2022 or 2023. And because of this, as small business owners, many of us have never been through a recession before, so we don't often know how to deal with this type of downturn in business, how it might affect our teams, how it might affect our customer base, and how it might affect future opportunities for growth. And so I thought this is a very important topic that a lot of us are talking about, but not a lot of us are strategizing for. So what I've been doing over the past few months in my own cleaning business is we've been building a framework for how to recession-proof our cleaning business so that we can actually not just survive, but thrive when the next downturn does come. So for this year's Maid Summit, what we're going to do is we're going to take you through a crash course today on how to recession-proof your cleaning business. And then there's a course coming on August 31st in association with the Zen Maid Summit, where we're going to be taking you on an in-depth deep dive through recession-proofing your business in a much more in-depth scenario for each of the units that we're going to talk about today. It's going to include templates, it's going to include done-for-you setups, and it's going to be a very useful exercise that your business will go on to score dividends from for years to come. So with that in mind, I want to welcome you again to the Maid Summit, and I want us to get started today on this crash course. So if you're unfamiliar with me and this is your first time interacting or seeing any content by me, I'm Chris Schwab, and I'm primarily known for my remotely run cleaning company, ThinkMaids, based in Washington, D.C. I started this back in 2016 as a solution to be able to move overseas to be with my then girlfriend and now wife, because at the time I was in my final year of university, and it was get a job and have 2 weeks of vacation a year, or find a way to be able to have a good income, but also be able to live and be with her and travel at the same time. And so back then, remote work was starting to be talked about a lot, but it still wasn't a very common thing. So I set up ThinkMaids in mind from day one to be able to run very efficiently. And within a few months, I was actually able to hire and delegate to virtual assistants so that I was able to actually run it remotely as an absentee owner as well. So I'm primarily known for going fully remote and teaching others how to do that in their cleaning company. I've since traveled to Santorini and Greece, to the UK and London, and I've lived in Japan, in Tokyo and Yokohama as well. So I've been doing this full time for 5.5 years now, and I haven't been back to DC in a single time since then. So I'm known for that, and I'm also known for providing trained virtual assistants to other cleaning business owners in the cleaning industry. So if you find that you need a little office help, or even just help with the phones, or if you want to go the full mile and become a full absentee owner and travel as well, we've helped hundreds of cleaning business owners do exactly the same thing that I have. We've really got it down to a science, a very solid process, and we've got great people that we can bring into your business to help. So that's a very brief 1 minute, 90-second introduction to who I am. And if you're looking for a little more information on some of those things, on how to do that yourself, you can take a look at some of my previous Maid Summit talks. If you're looking for a VA, I show you how to hire your own for free in our 2019 talk. If you want to learn how to work and structure your business very efficiently, you can look at my 2020 and 2021 talks on personal productivity and how to become an absentee owner and travel with your business. So that's a quick introduction to me, and I'd like to actually get on to today's course material on recession-proofing your cleaning business. Okay, so just as a quick top-level overview for what we're going to be covering today, I want you to keep in mind that this is a 101 crash course. The course that I'm going to be showing you guys later is a much more in-depth, full-body course that we're going to be going through together, and it's going to use a somewhat similar structure to today's presentation. But what we're going to be doing on today's call is we're going to go through past recessions and how they've affected the home services industry, with a particular focus on the cleaning industry, as this is the Maid Summit. And then we're going to be looking at core systems that you're going to need in place to secure your business, to ensure that it's stable and still oriented towards growth rather than just trying to stay safe and alive. By the way, these systems that I'm going to talk about very briefly, because I've covered them on previous calls, is systems that you need in your business anyway, but they're doubly important during a recession, and you really can't afford to have these not in place if you're going to survive a downturn. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at 3 primary keys that I think are truly important. They're the be-all and end-all that you're going to have to focus on during a recession. And I'm going to bring you practical steps that you can take and use literally today if you're very on the ball and very action-oriented to actually secure your business and unlock these keys. So we're going to look through these 3 keys, and then finally, we're going to take a long-term view of our industry and some personal thoughts that I have on where our industry is going in the next few years. I'm going to reflect on the big changes we've had just in the past few years and some changes that I personally think are inevitable, some good, some bad, but how we can survive and thrive in light of those changes. And finally, I'm going to take you on a quick sneak peek through the upcoming course that we're going to release in late August. All right, so with that, I'm going to dive right in. We're going to get started. All right, so what we want to do as an overview first is look at how past recessions have affected the home services industry. And when I've been getting with my own management team these past few months, we've been trawling through as much quality research as we can find. Anecdotes are great, Facebook groups are great for initial research, but they're not as good as looking at the whole industry as a whole and then filtering that down to the local level into actionable bits. And that's what I'm trying to do in my own company and share those same insights with you. So we've looked at a number of primary sources, including the Department of Labor, including MIT and some of their case studies that they've done over the years, and the Wharton Business School. And we've looked at HomeAdvisor and Angie, who are actually big players in the home industry themselves, and so they have a vested interest in doing quality research on it. And they've done great market reports over the years with insights and research into home services during recessions and after recessions. So we were looking at these primary sources when I want to talk about and give you some of these insights into past recession research. And if you'd like, you can always email me and I can send you a list of sources that I used for this research if you want to take a deep dive yourself into it. So with that in mind, I found a lot of useful insights, more than any other, specifically from HomeAdvisor and Angie. So the bulk of the insights here are going to relate to that. And one of the biggest findings is actually really positive. And so cleaning services as a whole, and during a recession or not, are trending upwards long term, and they're one of the largest growing sectors according to both HomeAdvisor and the Department of Labor. So as a whole industry, we're generally trending upwards, and this is very good. It doesn't say anything about the local level or a particular city or town service area that you may have, but as a whole, long term, we're well positioned to take a bigger stake in the market. So that's a good positive note to start up with, to know that you'll still be in demand and people are not going to suddenly stop getting cleanings. You're not going to go bust. That said, and if you've been through a recession before, this is not going to be groundbreaking or shocking to hear. Residential sales specifically see a fairly large dip in sales when we are actually into a downturn and it's been announced and it's become official. There is a big dip in new sales, particularly standard, particularly vacation rental. However, move-in and move-out cleans often increase because a lot of people are having to move and downsize, or they're selling their homes. And while this may be good or bad depending on the individual, for us, if we can tailor our services more towards move-in and move-out cleans, we can actually recapture some of that revenue we may be losing from some of our other services. So there is a dip in certain types of sales and a rise in certain other types of cleans. You're going to see a higher churn rate than normal. So that means regular customers that you already have, you're going to start losing more of those regular bi-weekly or monthly cleans. And there's going to be more of a one-time clean as a larger percent of your cleans every month that you do, and less towards steady business. You're going to see an increased number of disputes to your cards, and that's going to be through payment processors like Stripe or PayPal. People are disputing more and more. You're going to see an increase in negative reputation. So more people are going to be leaving bad reviews. So it's very important that you get great review automation software to increase the number of positive reviews you have to offset that. And finally, you're going to see an increased amount of damage claims against your business. Claims that something was broken or stolen, or that something went seriously wrong with the clean, and you're going to see some more insurance claims than you may have had before. So these 4 or 5 insights are particularly important, actionable ones that we're going to need to look at a little bit deeper. I'd also like to say that the frequency of cleans often goes down as well. And this ties into the churn rate that I just mentioned. So if you have a lot of customers on a weekly schedule, they may be cutting back to bi-weekly. If you have a lot of customers on a bi-weekly schedule, they may cut back to monthly or quarterly and so on. So you're going to see a decrease in the frequency of cleans for some of your customers as well. So again, none of this is particularly catastrophic, but it hurts. It's 1,000 little cuts, right? If everyone reduces the frequency of their cleans a little bit, and if they increase their claims a little bit, and your churn rate goes up a little bit, and there's a little dip in sales, altogether, it starts to be tough to function. So it's just these little tweaks that happen, 5 or 10% in this direction and that direction, they all trend against you in a downturn. That said, janitorial companies specifically focused on commercial cleaning through the past few recessions, the past 7 specifically, have tended to be more recession-proof than residential companies. One of the reasons is they have contracts in place, there's continuity of service, it's a lot more regular and part of the operating budget of a company. So there's a lot more standardized processes in place to continue janitorial service. However, this time there is a prediction that it may be a little bit different, and this is a prediction that I have as well, because offices are becoming less essential with the work from home revolution, and many office buildings are starting to sit empty now. So while there are contracts in place that will allow you to have some stability if you're a janitorial company, the worry is that they're going to ask for a great reduction in frequency or cost, or they may not be renewing those contracts at all. So janitorial companies, you do tend to be a little more recession proof, but don't take it easy, because there are some tweaks that you're going to have to make as well to ensure that you have a continuity of service. So those are the main ones that are kind of negative that we're going to look at, but there's a couple positive ones that I do think we should talk about as well. But to end this slide, I do think we'll personally see a recession soon, and there will be a subsequent dip in sales for residential cleaning services primarily, but that janitorial companies are not going to come out of this unscathed. So with all of that in mind, we do have a few positive developments that I was able to glean from Angie's recent home services report about 1.5 years ago. And one of the big things they pointed out was that our industry as a whole is growing at around 3 to 5% a year, and the growth rate is accelerating as well. So we're going to be seeing a huge increase of tens of billions of dollars in the next 2 to 3 years entering the home services industry economy. So there's actually a bigger pie being put on the table, even with a downturn coming. And one of the big reasons for this is due to a population and generation shift in life stages. So boomers and millennials are currently entering a different stage of life that's more focused on home buying, on restoration and repairs. It's more focused on care, and it's more focused on aging well and getting services to you. So we're actually seeing a huge increase in the home services industry because of this cohort and life stage shift. So know that as people age, they need more care, they have more disposable incomes typically for home services to be done, and they want that extra support. And so we're seeing this huge shift go through right now that's going to start to finalize by 2025, where home services are becoming ever more important, particularly interior-based home services or home services that require equipment that customers don't have on site, like pressure washing equipment. So we are seeing as a general whole a big growth and a big focus on the home services industry more than we ever have before. And I'd also like to end this insight into past recessions by saying that there's been little change in purchasing behavior for home services across recessions. So we've done research into the past 7 recessions, and the home services sector specifically has been one of the least hit out of all the sectors that have had recessions the past 7 years, which is most of them. Home services has been pretty much the most resilient, and it's only seen a slight dip, or it's even continued growing during a recession despite other industries not growing and cutting back. So we're a very resilient industry as a whole market. And with that, I do have a few personal thoughts I wanted to share on some insights that I think might be helpful for you to take away from the research that I just went through with you. One of those, for example, is that with increased reputation management needs, it's very important that you have an automated review system in place. Something like Nice Job or simply texting is really important that you capture positive reviews from customers, because you're going to start getting more negative reviews. So there's a few personal thoughts I have that I think are going to be good guide stones for us to use. So one of those is that to recognize the economy is cyclical. None of this lasts forever. There's always a recession. There's always a growth period after. And what that means is a huge part of this is coming out ahead and playing the waiting game. The brunt of a recession, the really tough part that we have to get through, typically lasts anywhere from 12 to 18 months, and it starts to reverse at around the 2-year mark. So a lot of this is a waiting game, ensuring that our processes are tight, ensuring that we're running efficiently and cost effectively, and knowing that we can wait it out. That's just by itself a big insight that we need to keep up with all the negativity around this discussion right now. And again, just a personal insight, cleaning services have thrived the past couple of years with the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly with COVID-19 specialized cleans. Many of us now on our websites have a specific COVID-19 clean that we offer, which is a much more in-depth sanitization type of clean for homes, for gyms, doctors' offices, and so on. And this type of clean has brought in a huge amount of new business to the cleaning industry as a whole. So contraction is not a foregone conclusion that we should be focusing on. There may be a global recession, but it doesn't mean we have to experience a recession the same way that everyone else is if we can focus our efforts in the right direction, right? And one of the ways that we can focus our efforts in the right direction is by establishing referral partnerships with home services that are currently going through a huge boom in demand, like roofing or interior upgrades, like electrical work being done. These are services, general contractors, that are often already booked out for the rest of the year already. Painting is another one in warm states like Florida. Many painting companies are completely booked out for the rest of the year. So if you can start to establish referral partnerships with industries that are experiencing a boom, and particularly with companies that are starting to be booked out, that is a huge key by itself that you're going to want to take away from this, because these partnerships are absolutely essential to have in place when lead sources like Thumbtack or Google Service Leads starts to dry up, when people start to have less disposable income. And these are the ones, these partnerships are going to keep you going. So that's number one. Number two is start to think about related services that you might be able to offer. Now, one of the things I've talked about in previous talks is when you've really dominated your local market in cleaning, you could start to expand to new service areas, or you could start to add related services to your service area, like window cleaning or carpet cleaning, and capture the market all over again with a new service. And this is one of the things that I actually recommend that we do during a recession to maximize the value on the back end, is to offer related services to your existing customers to try and increase the average booking price and increase the number of services that they need in a year. If you're offering good quality cleaning service, it's great to focus on that. But as you grow and as you need more from the same customers, because less new customers are coming in, offering them special services like home organizing, like carpet cleaning and so on, are great add-ons for your business that will bring in higher ticket prices to help sustain you. So one way to think about this is your customers can't do certain services themselves, particularly if it requires specialized equipment and a trained technician to come in and do it. So think about those types of services that you might be able to add over the next year to your service. And the last is to think about tailoring your existing services to industries that do well during a recession. If you're primarily a residential cleaning company, think about how you might be able to offer special COVID-19 cleans to a doctor's office, or how you could come in a couple times a week to a care home to provide a special type of care home cleaning, or a special type of daily cleanup service that you could offer gyms who are very focused, upscale gyms who are very focused on clean workout environments. Start to think, if you're just doing general standard and deep clean, start to think of one or two specialized services that you could offer to industries that actually experience a boom during recessions. Those are health, those are social care, those are liquor stores, those are pet stores and breeders. These are all industries that experience a boom during recessions. And so if you can target those people as your new customers, you might be able to bring in a lot of new business that way. So another point, this is one that we're starting to explore ourselves, is during a recession, it is just a truth that many businesses close down because they were already operating on a razor-thin margin, and the recession just took them out. This is the time to start thinking about acquiring smaller competitors in your area doing the same thing. Because they already have an existing customer base, the cost of acquisition for you is just buying the customer list. So if you can find cleaning owners who are thinking of getting out of the industry because they don't want to deal with the downturn, it's worth seeing if the numbers make sense, if you could actually roll up their existing customers by buying them from the owner into your own company and gaining more market share that way, instead of spending it on marketing and trying to tweak your conversion rate that way. You could spend it on getting guaranteed customers. So I'd also say it's truly important that you build a 3-month business emergency fund at a minimum. At an absolute minimum, you're going to want 3 months. 12 months is an ideal to aim for, but of course that takes a long time to build. If you're going to build a 1-year emergency fund of operating expenses, that might take you a couple of years to slowly build, and that's fine. But you're going to want to have a 90-day, 3-month emergency fund in place as quick as you can, because when a recession is officially announced, there is a sharp take back in sales those first few weeks and months, because it sends a shock through the economy that it's official now. And that's when you see a lot of the slowdown in sales. That's when you see a lot of people start to cut back and look at their bills. So that first couple month period of a recession, it's particularly crucial that you have an emergency fund for your operating expenses, because those first few months are often very rough. And finally, your marketing dollars are going to go less far, so you're going to need to take a hard look at your existing conversion rate for each marketing platform, because it's paramount that the number of leads you're converting increases as a percent, since the total number of leads you're going to be getting will actually decrease. So just before we start, I'm going to spend 30 seconds on this, but these are the core systems that I really want you to take a look at and make sure that you have in place before we go through the 3 keys. You're going to need a client attraction system. That's the marketing. That's how you bring in new leads and customers. You're going to need to have a retention system for retaining those clients, and you're going to want to have a reactivation system for bringing back in old clients and ex-clients who've stopped service, or who maybe are only using services once a year or so, and see if you can bring them back onto a regular schedule. I've got all of these in our local business MBA course. If you go to localbusinessmba.com, I have all these done for you systems that you can just copy and paste for client attraction, retention, reactivation, hiring, and so on. So I'm not going to spend too much on that, but I will say you should always be hiring even during a recession, because hiring is always hard. But as people start to shift jobs and start to worry about their security, you may lose a couple of teams during a recession. So always stay hiring. You're going to want to have your bookkeeping done properly, and this ties into the emergency fund that I talked about earlier. I would recommend that you read Profit First. That's the name of the book. Profit First is a fantastic, simple framework for small business owners to ensure that you're always staying profitable and that you always have money in your operating expenses account. And lastly, you should always be doing a business health check at least quarterly for different areas of your business. And again, I have templates for how we do business health checks in my companies that you can take a look at if you email me. I can send them to you for free. But we do a business health check that looks at every area of our business every 3 months. That's marketing, sales, hiring, retention, customer service, and so on. And then we score them and rank them depending on how they're weak. And then we filter that down to our monthly, weekly, and daily task lists, so that by the time we get to the next business quarter, that's not an issue anymore, and we can focus on fixing up the next problem. So these are the ones that you should have in place regardless if there's a recession or not, but that they're going to become truly essential to your success during a recession. So with that in mind, I wanted to mention these briefly, but I've done a whole talk on these before, so you can look at my past Maid Summit talks if you want to go in depth on any of these. But I'd like to start now on the first key. So the first key is maximizing value on the back end. And this is so important, again, regardless if there's a recession, but especially during a recession, because you're going to have less leads and less new customers coming in when a downturn happens. So you actually have to make each customer that you do have worth as much as possible. You need to increase the average ticket price. You need to increase the frequency, the number of services that they're doing. You need to increase upsells. You have to make sure that you're getting as much money from each customer as you possibly can. And I know it's not fun to think of customers that way, but at the end of the day, we're talking about this from a business perspective, and we have got to remain as profitable as possible because we don't ultimately know how long or how tough this is going to be. So to maximize value on the back end, it goes without saying, you're going to have to know your numbers and let them guide your marketing and your sales and your retention strategies. Number one, you've got to know your numbers, right? Of course. Like I mentioned earlier, one-time cleans, they become more important as churn increases. And so you need to make sure that your one-time cleans are bringing in as much money as you can because people are going to be more reluctant, and it's going to be harder to convince them to become a regular customer when finances are tight. So you got to know, that means you have to know your conversion rate. You have to know your conversion rate by platform so you can focus your dollars on the right platform. You've got to know your profit margins so that once you know these numbers, you can work on increasing them 5 or 10% each here or there so that they have a big effect, right? For example, one of the most impactful things we've done to increase our average ticket price was the way that we did upsells. We used to do upsells on the initial call when we were booking a customer over the phone, even if their booking was a week or two out, right? Now we switch that to the morning of their service. We send them a text reminder asking if they'd like to add this extra on to their cleaning for an extra $30 or whatever. When we gave them a price, because we're an expensive cleaning company, when we gave them that price originally, what we found was they were getting sticker shock. So we'd say your deep clean would cost this much money. Would you like to add the fridge cleaning on for this much? And then it's this much more. And they go, no, I don't need it. I don't want that. That's too much money. No thanks. But what we found was if we got them booked with their regular service, if we text them that morning a couple hours before they're cleaning, we let them know, hey, we noticed you booked a deep clean, but you didn't include your oven and you didn't include your fridge. Would you like us to include both of those as an extra for an extra $40? If we do it that way, a few hours before the service, many more people say yes. Because at the time they were thinking of the price, not the quality of the clean, but the morning of when you're about to come and do the cleaning, they're thinking about how much they want their home to be clean and they want it to be thorough and they want to feel good about it. So they're willing to pay that extra money at that point. So consider, for example, moving your upsell to right before the cleaning rather than at the time of the booking. That's been huge for us. It increased our average booking price by almost $40. Which is an enormous amount when you add it up over hundreds of cleans every month. So that's just an example, but you're going to need to know your numbers because those numbers are going to inform the strategies that you use to increase the value of each customer. And you have to know it at each stage. So the most important KPIs that you're going to need to keep track of, and there are many, is the cost of acquisition to get one customer in. That's a marketing number. The average booking price that that customer is booking their service for, the percent that converts from leads into one-time customers, and from one-time customers into recurring customers. You need to know the percent for both of them because these are different stages of the customer acquisition process, and each stage there's going to be a lower rate, so you need to focus on increasing the rate for each stage. You're going to need to know your conversion rate by platform, so you're not wasting money on a bunch of different marketing sources that aren't giving you a good return. You're going to need to know your monthly churn rate and your yearly churn rate, how many customers are starting and staying for a few months and then dropping off. And you're going to need to know your monthly revenue and profit margins. So those are the KPIs that you're going to need to know at a minimum to make informed decisions about your business's marketing and sales and retention strategies. So along with that, you're going to need to focus more on referrals since less total leads are going to be coming in from lead platforms, or your conversion rate is going to be lower. Meaning that if you focus on existing customers helping you bring in new customers, this is more of a winning strategy that costs much less money. You're going to need, finally, to optimize your marketing and sales strategies. I will talk about this later in the course itself, but I have a marketing ROI test that I do to ensure that my dollars are always going to the right platform that's giving us the most money. This is kind of key number one. And just as a very quick example, a very quick overview of a basic client retention strategy that you're going to want to have in place, you need to recognize that client retention starts after the first job. You're going to want to build an extensive thank you for choosing us sequence, a feedback sequence, including a live call for any feedback they had about the cleans, a reviews sequence to make sure that you're actually getting good reviews on platforms to ultimately increase your company's reputation, and a reactivation follow-up sequence for past customers who drop off or one-time customers who didn't become regular, but who you think in a few months from now might be, right? So you're going to want to build these, at least these campaigns into your client retention strategy. And as a nice quality of service thing to go above and beyond other companies, it's recommended that at least every few months you give your regular customers some sort of freebie or upgrade to their service, depending on the frequency and profit margins of the type of clean that they're on. Like, for example, every quarter you might give your standard cleans an extra, oven cleaning for free or something. This will impact your profit margins a little bit, but it goes a long way to keeping customers happy and understanding why they chose you. Doing regular check-ins with them to check that they're happy with the service is always important. And offering referral incentives to new customers is important. So one thing that you can do is, if you have employees, you can't do this with independent contractors, but if you have employees, you can have them carry gift cards to leave after a new customer after they finished a cleaning. Or you can have your office manager email every new customer with a personalized discount code for their friends and family. And what I find is often these codes don't get used for a few months, but they do get used. And so all these new customers that we have one-time cleans for, we give them these personalized discount codes, and 6 months later, we see some new customer we've never heard of use that code because they got it from that one-time clean. So it's important to have incentives as well as part of your retention strategy. So that was just a super quick overview. Key 2 is lean but abundant operations. And the main thing I really want to drill home here, because they do a better job than I ever could, is to read the book Profit First and implement as much of it as you can. It's truly a game changer of a book in this industry, and it's helped literally tens of thousands of home service owners get a hold of their bookkeeping in a very simple way. For those of us like me who is not an accountant and has no accountant training. So please read the book Profit First. I truly can't recommend it enough. But the key basic overview of key 2 is that you're going to need to know your key financial numbers that we discussed in the last slide. But you're going to need to go a little bit more in depth to your financial numbers to actually reveal how healthy your business is, not how healthy you think it is. You're going to need to go over your business expenses, and I recommend that you do this quarterly and talk to your vendors about possible discounts they might be able to give you, or temporary free service, or a way that you guys can work out a reduced rate so that you know that you're actually getting as good a deal as you can possibly get for each vendor. And these monthly subscriptions are so important to do this with. We're in a day and age now where every company on the planet is trying to make everything a subscription service. And so when you look at your monthly bill now versus 10 years ago, the amount of monthly subscriptions you have is just overwhelming. It's a subscription for everything. And the profit margins on those subscriptions, particularly software companies, is often huge. And so you can approach a lot of these software vendors and ask them for a reasonable discount. I recommend asking for between 5 and 15% of a discount off the monthly bill. And a lot of them will say yes. Some will say no. But I did this at the start of the pandemic. I went to every vendor I had and asked for discounts. Some of them gave me months of free service. Others gave me a small percent off my bill every month. And if you can reduce your overall subscription expenses, for example, by between 5 and 15%, that is huge. That is all extra profit back in your pocket that you can then contribute to building your emergency fund with. So every single business quarter, you're going to want to optimize your marketing dollars, you're going to want to optimize your conversion rates, and you're going to want to look at all the vendors that you're spending money with to see where you might be able to cut back a little. And finally, you're going to want to build that business emergency fund that I talked about so that you have that safety net. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit more right now. So a couple of the guidelines that I recommend in terms of lean operations is you're going to have to pay yourself first. This is the core principle of the book Profit First, is you want to build a system where you're able to always pay yourself first and know that your company is stable and profitable. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I'm just going to belabor the point to read the book. But this expense range that I give you is a good guideline to go for when you're reducing your expenses. It'd be great to reduce all our monthly expenses by 20 or 30%, but that's a very high amount. It's often not realistic for us to do that. So if we aim for a modest goal like 5 to 15% and talk honestly with our vendors about that small reduction, we can take all of that money that we save and invest it directly into building our emergency fund, so we're able to build it even quicker than we were before. And this safety net will bring you so much peace of mind. It changes how you interact with your business. You feel less stressed. You feel better about going towards growth instead of always trying to fight to survive. And you have more energy to actually grow because you're not panicking all the time over your numbers. So you're going to want to also do this quarterly expense analysis that I talked about. And one of the good things that you can do that I recommend is look for multi-purpose supplies and software, particularly software. You can, for example, booking software nowadays, ZenMaid, Jobber, and so on, they're a fantastic example of all-in-one software. ZenMaid does so many things now. It's not just a scheduler. It accepts payments. People can book online and get quotes. You can send out email and text reminders. There's so many good things that ZenMaid does all in one. It's a great software that you can use for a bunch of your different business needs without having to have a tool for every single thing. VoIP phone software is great for this now. Some phone softwares won't let you just have virtual phone system. They'll also track calls for you and give you marketing insights that you can use. They'll track leads that call your website and give you great data on that. And marketing software as well, something like ActiveCampaign. These multi-purpose softwares are a great way to get more out of just a few select tools that you use to run your business instead of having 20 subscriptions for each thing. So last thing I'd say on lean operations is don't be afraid to spend on growth once you've actually regrouped and got to a place where you're financially secure again and your business is secure in its growth. You don't want to contract and stay contracted. It's a temporary stage of optimization where you cut away the fat, you optimize everything, but then you get ready to grow again. You don't just stay in that closed state. And finally, key number 3 is a quick overview on how to operate efficiently. And these are, again, just a few guidelines, important pointers that I want to give you because I've gone into this very in-depth in other places, and we have a very specific time limit here for the Maid Summit. And so I'd recommend that you take a look at my past talks, particularly the 2021 talk on going remote and becoming an absentee owner, and my 2020 talk on personal productivity for maid service owners. These 2 talks, they're all about operating efficiently, operating leanly, and making sure that your team is giving you the most bang for their buck and not wasting any time in the office. This is particularly important around task prioritization, around time management, around how to delegate properly. Making sure that your teams are working efficiently is one of the biggest cost savers that you could possibly have. And time savers too, which is really the big thing for us, right? We're all here for a limited amount of time. We want to maximize that as much as possible. So I want you to recognize that your time is even more important during a recession, that you have to delegate as much busy work as possible to a VA or an office manager so that you can focus your entire day as much as possible on hiring great teams and on bringing in new sales and higher sales amounts. So this needs to be the focus even more during a recession. So I'd recommend, of course, that you build an SOP for your company, but the ultimate realization that I'm leaning towards here is to recognize that you are replaceable. You should be able to build up your cleaning business, walk away from it, and it operate totally fine without you. Especially as the owner, you've got to make your business operate efficiently to be able to work without you. Otherwise, it's still dependent on you, and you'll never be able to escape and take a vacation or stop panicking at night about it. It's a peace of mind thing, but it's also a safety thing, ensuring that your business is safe and able to operate long term without you. So your objective this next year is to learn how to slowly replace yourself so your cleaning company can scale without you and thrive during a downturn. So that was, of course, a very brief look at key number 3, but I wanted to also take you through just a few insights to be thinking about long term. And that's that global, national, and economic trends all matter. They're all interwoven together in today's globalized world. And so if you can start to have an appreciation for global and national trends, that's going to eventually filter down to the actions that you take at the local level, which are going to give you a competitive advantage over competitors who have not done that research. And one book that I recommend that you look at is to take a read of Ray Dalio's The Changing World Order. This is a book written by the world's #1 hedge manager, and what he's done is he's looked at empires over the past 500 years and looked at from the economic perspective of how they rose and how they collapsed. And while that's at a global level, it's very applicable to gaining an appreciation of how market trends and economic trends and world trends affect people even at the local level. So I recommend you read that book. I recommend that you be aware of older business owners who've been through recessions previously. We all know so many cleaning business owners through these groups that we're in now. Try and take some time to talk through older business owners who've been in the cleaning industry 15, 25, 30 years and talk about how they've dealt with past recessions. Because leaning on someone who has that time-tested, battle-tested advice to give you is so much more valuable than even a presentation can ever give you. So talk to the older business owners who've actually been through that lived experience. I want you to recognize the increasing importance of partnerships in today's world, particularly things like the Chamber of Commerce, BNI, Alignable, Realtors. These types of partnerships that you build are becoming increasingly important, particularly with a downturn when lead flows start to decrease. Your main source of new business you may find is partnerships that you built. So you cannot ignore these and always focus on the marketing aspect. You have to focus on the relationship building aspect as well. And again, build that with businesses that are historically doing well during a recession, like liquor, pet industries, healthcare, and so on. Consider, again, adding related services like windows and carpets and adding new niches. So these are some of the trends that I see starting to become important increasingly in our industry that I just want you to be aware of. I wish we had more time to spend on it, but we don't. As a quick recap, I want you to think about the systems that you're going to need in place. I want you to think about these 3 keys, because these are all keys that if you get them in place properly, your business is truly going to be on another level compared to 90% of the competition in your market. And with that, I want to introduce the Recession-Proof Your Cleaning Business course coming on August 31st. What we've talked about today is just a crash course of things to think about and consider that you could do in your business. It's just a roadmap to follow, but it's not the actual content itself. And so what we're putting together for you right now is a truly in-depth course on recession-proofing your cleaning business based on everything we've talked about today. It's going to go over the systems that you're going to need, including a done-for-you system setup where we'll actually come in and implement the systems for you if you want, so you don't even have to lift a finger. It's going to include an in-depth dive on the 3 keys that we went over today and the steps, templates, and strategies that we're using that you can just copy and paste and use in your own business. And it's going to include long-term market trends and research that we've done as well, so that you can know what you should be doing 2, 3, 5 years out in the cleaning industry to make sure that you're still continuing to grow and capture more market share and serve your customers well. And so this is going to be a small, dedicated group at first that we're hoping to get through this pre-sale where we'll actually all go through it live together. So I wanted to offer a deal for you guys because this is the Maid Summit. So if you buy the course now with the link before the course is launched, you're going to get 50% off the course. It's going to be $4.99 for you guys. It's going to be $9.97 or $14.97 when we actually release the course. So you're getting anywhere from 50 to 66% off the course when it actually launches if you use the code ZenMade2022 on the Recession-Proof Your Cleaning Business course, which is available at localbusinessmba.com. And if you purchase that, you'll have the option to get 50% off our Hire Your Own VA course as well if you purchase them as a bundle. And this course is a fantastic introduction to hiring your own VA. It includes job application templates, interview questions, onboarding, and training as well. So just as a sneak peek inside the course, this is how to purchase the course. If you just go to localbusinessmba.com and you click on the Recession Proof Your Cleaning Business course, you can actually go and click the Buy Now button, and you can click if you want a payment plan, you can do a payment plan, or you can do a one-time payment. Once you've created your account, you can implement the coupon code and purchase it, and you'll get access on August 31st in the evening when it's formally released. But these modules are going to include recession research insights. It's going to include a huge module on maximizing value on the back end, including my own client attention and retention strategies, including our sales strategies that we're using to increase our upsells and our conversion rates. It's going to include marketing ROI optimizations and more. We're going to include a module on lean operations, cutting expenses, templates to do that, making sure that you're not wasting money, making sure that you're not wasting time. In the efficient operations course, we're going to show you guys how to work efficiently. We're going to give you an actual productivity system that you can use in your business every day with yourself and with your team, to make sure all the most important work is being done and to make sure that everything is operating as efficiently as possible, so money is not being wasted there. But we're going to offer a done for you system setup service, which is an add-on. If you prefer that we come in and implement these systems for you, we can actually do that for you instead. If you're busy and you don't want to do it, but you know that you need it, we'll do it for you. And finally, we're going to have a long-term planning section as well, which is looking ahead on what you can do long-term in the future to ensure your success as a cleaning business owner. And we're going to have access to a bunch of bonuses, templates, and strategies and so on that I'm personally using in my cleaning company and many of our clients are using right now that you can take away and use. With that, I just want to say, feel free to reach out. I don't bite. You can either reach out to me by buying the course on localbusinessmba.com. If you want a VA, you can go to innovalocal.com and schedule a call with us there or at the link in option 3 on the screen. Or if you just want to talk to me personally and bounce ideas back and forth, I'm always happy to do that. You can reach out to me personally at chris@innovalocal.com, or you can find me on Facebook by searching Chris Schwab. I'm sure we'll have many mutual friends, so you'll find me immediately. And you can visit my Facebook group as well, which we'll be reviving soon. So I hope to hear from you guys soon. This is such an important talk to be going over, and it's something that I think if we can all get together as a group and go through, it's going to become a truly invaluable resource, not just for our group, but for the entire cleaning business community. So I hope to see you guys inside there. I hope to at least meet you and talk to you. And we can just share trends, we can share market research, and we can share what we're doing in our own cleaning companies together. So thank you so much for joining me again for this year's Maid Summit, and I hope to talk to you all soon.